Make cake decorating less time-consuming with these 10 time-saving cake tips. Save time when you're making several cakes by doing the same stage for every cake, and then moving on to the next stage for all of the cakes together. So bake all of your layers and make all of your fillings and frostings. This is my 4-minute buttercream mixed with different ingredients like cream cheese, marshmallow, chocolate, and pumpkin spice. Then assemble every cake and then crumb coat every cake. This way you'll work much faster because you'll only have to take out and put away the tools for each stage once. And once you've got into the swing of frosting a cake, you'll frost the second cake much faster and the third cake even faster. And while a cake is in the fridge to set the crumb coat, you can be frosting another cake, so there's no idle time waiting. Final coat every cake one after the other before you do the decorations for every cake. You'll save so much time this way. Use and reuse your buttercream to save even more time. To make different colors of frosting, start by spooning some buttercream into a separate bowl and tint it the lightest color you need. Frost your cake and then add more gel to the leftovers to make the next color. Here I'm adding more pink to make a darker shade for the frosting on this next cake, and then adding purple to make the frosting for this monster cake, and then adding black to make this ombre frosting. By getting darker each time, you save time by not needing to wash bowls or spatulas. Another tip for buttercream, don't try to guess exactly how much you'll need of each color because leftovers are okay. Don't try to make just the right amount of buttercream. If in doubt, make a little bit more. If you run out of buttercream while frosting or decorating a cake, it's really difficult and time-consuming to try to tint more buttercream to match a color you've already used. On the other hand, having leftovers is actually a time saver. If you have buttercream left after finishing your cake or cakes, this will save you time when you make your next cake in the future. Because you can freeze this buttercream in a sealed bag like a Ziploc bag for up to 2 months. To thaw it, take it out the night before, and by the morning it will have come to room temperature and it will be nice and soft. Cut a corner off the bag, squeeze it out into a bowl, add any extra color to retint it, and stir it quite aggressively to knock out any air bubbles, which tend to appear when the buttercream changes temperature. And now this leftover buttercream is ready to use for your next cake. Don't rush any part of making a cake. You'll have to scrape and start again. Save time by taking your time to do it carefully and neatly the first time. For example, I didn't chill this cake for long enough before adding the neon green stripes, so the purple stripes didn't set properly and they blended into the green stripes to make a mess. I didn't wait for this white chocolate strawberry ganache to come to room temperature and thicken, so it was too runny to frost this cake with, and I had to scrape it and start again. I would have saved time by not rushing. If you notice your buttercream is the wrong consistency, for example, like here it's too stiff, don't try to frost the cake because you'll spend a lot more time trying to get it neat. Instead, fix it now. If it's too stiff, scoop up a third of the buttercream and microwave it for 10 seconds and then stir it back in, and your buttercream will be smooth with no air bubbles, and it will spread onto the cake like a dream. Use the right tool for each step of making a cake. For example, this tiny offset spatula is great for mini cakes and stencils. But to spread the frosting onto this 6-inch cake, it's taking forever. Switch to a bigger offset spatula and finish in half of the time. Using the right tool will also make your cakes neater. For example, this little offset spatula is okay for the top edge of this 6-inch cake. But with a bigger spatula, I can not only flatten the top edge faster, but also make it neater by doing larger sections at a time, which makes the top edge more level. When you're working on a cake, set a timer and challenge yourself to finish a step within that time. You'll find yourself focusing all of your attention on the cake while that timer is running, instead of checking your phone messages, your email, your social media, watering the plant, starting another load of laundry. I find this the most effective when there are several stages to a decoration. Like here, when after frosting the cake, I'm retinting the leftover buttercream for the next step, I'm making stencils, and later I'll add edible glitter. When there are lots of steps, like on this cake, the timer pushes you onto the next step without pausing for a distraction. I don't recommend timing just a single step, like piping, because that will just make you rush and the decorations won't be as neat. If you make cakes anywhere that's not right next to the sink and a rubbish bin or garbage, have a dirty and a throwaway tub or bowl to tidy up as you go so that you don't have a huge mess to clean up at the end. So after piping, you can throw the piping bags and tips in there, and spatulas and bowls, and anything else you need to clean or throw away. For baking, my mum taught me to take all of the ingredients out before you start, so you know that you have everything, but I don't do this for cake decorating because there are so many waiting periods. While the buttercream is mixing, while the frosting is setting in the fridge or freezer, while an ingredient like melted chocolate or a drip is cooling before you can use it. And these are perfect windows to find whatever you need for the next stage of your decorating process. So be strategic. I think the most efficient way is to make a list of the steps and to include any pauses or waiting periods and include what to do in those pauses. So here, after the crumb coat, the cake needs to chill to set it. And meanwhile, I can tint my buttercream to make the colours I need. And also make some stencils so that I'm ready to frost the cake when it comes out of the fridge. With a timeline like this, you can be as productive as possible and decorate your cake as efficiently as possible. For character cakes, you can sculpt a cake, like this one, which is the most time-consuming option, or you can use layered stencils to make a flat image of the character, which also takes a long time because you have to chill the cake in between each colour. If you work with fondant, you can make figures with that, like these ones I made when I had a cake shop years ago. Or, to save time, use toy figures instead as cake toppers. Spread buttercream or melted chocolate as glue to attach it to the buttercream frosting. This is the quickest option and honestly, the toy topper will probably have the best resemblance to the character. Save time in the days before a cake is due by preparing part or all of the cake in advance. You can bake cake layers up to 2 months in advance, and after they cool, wrap them in 2 layers of plastic wrap, like cling film or saran wrap, and then freeze them. Move them to the fridge the night before you're ready to assemble and frost and decorate your cake. Or make and frost and even decorate your cake, and then freeze it by putting it into the freezer for an hour to chill and set the frosting and decorations, and then wrap it in 2 layers of plastic wrap, and then put it back into the freezer. You can leave it there for up to 2 months. Move it to the fridge the night before you serve it, and 2 hours before you serve it, take it out and unwrap it straight away, while the frosting is still cold and firm so you don't damage it. When the cake comes to room temperature and you slice it, it will taste just as good as if you'd baked it that day. Let's do a blind taste test. This is a cake that I baked and frosted and decorated a month ago. And this one over here is a cake that I baked and frosted this morning. Both cakes are at room temperature now. Which tastes better? Let's find out! I'll need a helper for this experiment.
Me!
This is the previously frozen cake, and this is the fresh cake. I honestly can't taste the difference. So, if you're wondering, after freezing and defrosting a cake properly, there is absolutely no difference in the flavour compared to a cake that was baked on the same day. I hope these 10 tips will save you lots of time cake decorating. For more tips and tricks, visit my cake school on BritishGirlBakes.com, where you'll also learn hundreds of cake decorating techniques and designs. Thanks for watching.